up, everybody? Welcome back. Today, we are going through the MLM Business Blueprint, teaching you a system of skill sets and mindset to help you scale and duplicate any network marketing business. And today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is how to overcome objections. You know, when people tell you, oh, that's one of those pyramid things, or is this sales, or I don't know if I could do well, or whatever that it is, or dog ate my homework. Objections are something that are very normal in the sales process. And I used to be real scared about it. But if you understand some principles, then you're not only just going to not be scared about it, you're going to be excited to be able to confront objections and be able to overcome them. So if that sounds like something interesting, subscribe if you're not yet already to this YouTube, and let me know. Comment below. What are some common objections you get in your business that you find hard to overcome? I'll give you some principles today and then perhaps some specifics as we go on. So I remember when I first got into network marketing and I was learning how to invite and learning how to get someone to a presentation and then all that process of the pipeline. The invite was not too tough. The presentation wasn't tough because someone else did the presentation. But the part that I was scared about was what questions could someone have? And then what happened was I learned, and maybe this resonates with you, I learned some witty, quick responses that I thought was the key to overcoming objections. For example, to the pyramid scheme objection, I would say some witty things like, well, isn't everything shaped like a pyramid? Or maybe the sales objection. I don't like sales. I would say something like, well, you're selling me that you can't do sales. You know, it's like I would pick up these witty things. And I remember I had flashcards and I would say, if this came up, then I'd say this. If this came up, I said this. And that, while that was helpful and it sounded good, it actually wasn't that impactful. And what I realized is that professionals, when it comes to overcoming objections, it's not so much about like knocking someone out, like a witty response, but there's a process of understanding and addressing it and overcoming it to help them get what they want. So here's a general formula for addressing or overcoming objections. And just know they can come at any point in time in the pipeline process. It could come when you're qualifying them, and you're starting to get to know them, see how you could help them. It could come when you're inviting them to take a look at some information. It could come there. It could come during the presentation. It could come during the follow-up. An objection can come at any one point in the pipeline process, in the sales process. So if you understand a procedure on what to do, then you're not going to be stuck and you can ultimately help your prospect get what they want, which is what sales is all about. So what do you do when an objection comes? The first thing to do is not just address it right away. There have been so many times, I wonder if this has happened in your life. Have you ever responded too quick and you completely misunderstood the other person? So the first part about any type of objection handling is to clarify the objection. So for example, network marketing, a very popular one is, I don't like MLM. Right. So usually what I was trained to do before was just give a blanket statement answer. And that didn't work. But you know what works really well for the network marketing objection is to seek to understand first. There's so many different types of ways to handle that objection. In fact, like it's one of the most commonly asked questions that I get from my team, which is, how do you handle the MLM objection? You know what my response is? It depends. Now, people don't like that response because it depends is not a cut and dry answer, but it really does depend. If you want to be a master professional, if you want to be impactful, you want to know and understand this formula. So what do you need to do? Number one is seek to understand. And understanding means listening, not talking. So if someone's to ask me, I don't like MLM, I don't just discount it right away. I don't just address it right away. I'm going to ask some questions. So let's say it's Bob. I'll ask Bob until I thoroughly understand. So Bob, I'm sorry to hear that. If you don't mind me asking, why do you not like MLM? And maybe Bob will say something like, well, it's one of those things where people, You spend a lot of money, you don't make money, and people on top make all the money. Usually at this point, I will typically be defensive. I want to combat it, but I want to understand more. I want to continue to understand and clarify whatever the objection is until I have a good idea on where their mindset is at. So don't address until you clarify. So maybe I'll ask more. I'm sorry to hear that, Bob. That wasn't my experience. Have you tried network marketing before? And let's say they're like, I have. What companies? What was your experience? I'm going to dive in deeper to see exactly what happened. How long were they involved for? Right? You know, most people, if they have an MLM objection, they're expecting you to try to sell them. So you know what I do? I don't sell them. I just want to understand. In fact, almost like there's MLM trauma, and I want to understand what their trauma is because that's not my experience. So I keep on asking, and maybe they're going to say something like, you know, I tried it and it was hard to sell the product. I just couldn't make money. Now we're getting somewhere. Instead of MLM doesn't work, I don't like it, we now understand there was a experience that they had that didn't meet their expectation. Now that I understand what they're going through, then I can actually address it. So I hope that makes sense. So step number one, clarify whatever the objection is to the point that you actually understand what they're saying. Could be fast, could be slow, it doesn't matter. You know what that allows them to do? It allows them to understand that they're being understood. You see, where most objections, people close down because they feel like you're trying to attack them and just trying to sell them. The professional seeks to understand and then from there wants to overcome. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now that I understand from Bob what happened, then I want to isolate that objection. Let's say this is after a presentation, right? And they're like, man, it sounds good, but I want to isolate this. Okay, gotcha. So Bob, would you say that only the fact that you couldn't sell well, was that the biggest thing that held you back? Or do you think there was something more held you back from success? Right now, they might say some other things, but maybe that's it. So I'll clarify. I'll ask them. So if you knew how to sell effectively, do you think you could have done well in network marketing? Bob might then say, well, yeah. Okay, now you got something. You clarified the objection, you isolated it, and then now we can address it. So Bob, if I can show you how to sell well here, then do you think you could do well here? Fantastic. Okay. So now they have said what their objection is. Now we're going to address it. So how do we do it? Then I'll educate a little bit. And how do you educate someone? How do you address someone on this and any objection? Share what your philosophy is on the situation. Objection handling is more so philosophy transfer than it is a like script. So for me, for example, if we're talking about sales, I'll share my philosophy and what I've learned about effective selling. So I'll say something like, Bob, you know, I realized selling is simple when you understand there's a process to it. And all the process is learning how to connect with people and find out what their wants are. Then sharing with them some information that could potentially help them with that want. And then answer some questions from there. And if you understand that there's a process to it and you can learn that process, then anybody can sell anything. And you know, and maybe I'll share a story. Well, for me, I used to think I couldn't sell at all. I was so shy I couldn't order food at a restaurant. But then I learned the process and then I practiced it. And now I can sell. We've sold millions and millions and millions of dollars of stuff. And if I could do it, so could you. Did you see what I'm doing? I'm clarifying the objection. I'm isolating the objection. I'm now addressing the objection, sharing some stories, facts sell, stories sell, right? And then I'm going to see confirmation. So Bob, does that make sense to you? Do you see how that would work? If you could learn these skills, do you think you could also learn how to sell well? Then Bob will probably say, yeah, I can see how that works. Fantastic. Call to action. Call to action. Move them now to the next step. This is where most people fail. They might address the objection, but they don't move the conversation to the next step. And what's the next step? Wherever it is you are in the pipeline. If you're in the qualification stage and you need to invite them, then at this point, move on. Be like, well, hey, I'm getting ahead of myself, but if I could share with you some information about what this business is, would you be down to take a look? Right? So there's an invite to the presentation. Let's say this is during the presentation or following up. Okay, so they already watched it. So then I'm going to move forward. I'm going to say something like, hey, Bob, well, yeah, but if I could show you how to sell effectively so you can do this well, do you see a way for yourself to make some extra money here? Bob will then say yes. Then continue to move on with the process. If you're at that point, then we can just close. I'll just ask him, so if I could show you how to do this, we do this together, would you be down to get started? If you don't ask, you don't get. So overcoming objections, there's just a simple process. It doesn't matter what it is. We have to clarify the objection, isolate it, address it, and then call to action. Move in those stages. It doesn't matter if it's a network marketing objection, sales objection, I'm not good at this objection, whatever that it is, you follow this general framework. What's the main point? Seek to understand them. And then as a leader, as a communicator, connect with them with where they're at, share with them how you think and where you're going to take them to, confirm that, and then take the next action step. Overcoming objections is more about communication and understanding than it is about winning or anything like that. So today, I just want to drop this main insight on things. I hope it's helpful. I hope if you understand this, like objection handling is very fun because you're really just getting to understand someone else. And you start to see how much impact you can have on people's lives by being able to just overcome these things that are preventing them from getting what they want. And you can get the impact and the sales that you want as well too. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, subscribe to my YouTube. I'm going through our MLM business blueprint, by the way. If you're in network marketing and you like a way to be able to leverage and scale your business, scale your team, then I actually have a video I'd love to share with you. It's all about the blueprint, a system of skill sets and mindset. If you like information about that, comment or message me the word blueprint. I'd love to share that with you. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you have any other objections that commonly come up in your network marketing business, let me know in the comments below. Perhaps I'll make some other videos on it and we can address that further. All right, other than that, talk soon.